If you haven't ever heard the words Five Nights at Freddy's, I kinda envy you at this point. This may or may not come as a shock to all of you, but the entire franchise has, especially in recent years, tired me out beyond comprehension. With all the recent books to come out, the recent game we're about to talk about, Five Nights at Freddy's has taken a direction for the series that is insanely opposite from its original business plan. Now, originally the games were supposed to be released within a few months of each other, but the creator then got ambitious and decided to have the games take more time and ultimately be bigger. In his eyes, the games were supposed to be better. I kind of want to talk about the most recent game and how his ambition led to the death of the series. Kinda. It's now been over 2 years since the announcement of the game. This teaser has flooded the minds of the people who first saw it. I was one of those people. I knew I needed to get my hands on the latest game in the series with the story that has the most confusing plot lines and contradicting themes. In fact, this game, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, does, in fact, have a great story, but all the issues and gameplay loopholes distract the player from experiencing it entirely. It's not hard to imagine that this game's need to be rushed to market so quickly led to having some bugs and problems along the way. But this game wasn't even really rushed. The game was scheduled to release in late 2020, and we were even shown a substantial trailer in September of that year. The game most likely wasn't delayed because of any bugs and issues, but most likely reworked to give the fans a more shocking story. This choice came with some major issues. The team working on this game put so much emphasis into the story and twists in that story that it left out the gameplay in a major way, making some levels and areas of the game boring and very lackluster. As someone who would always prefer the gameplay be given a priority in a video game over the story, this game disappointed me. Even though I hyped it up so much, and you can check that by going on my channel, I was still kind of disappointed. I felt like this franchise deserved a proper send-off, and this was not what I was hoping for. If you just watched the trailers for this game, just watch the trailers, you would get the idea that this was going to be a semi-open world game for the franchise, and that could have very much been the original intention for this project. But this game is all but explorable. Yes, you have free roam of this mega mall, but there really isn't any incentive to explore it at all. 100% of this game is very tedious and boring, and it requires you to find some boring collectibles that don't really do anything at all. The collectibles are also served to you in the exact same way that the required items are, so when you see one of these boxes or presents, you aren't met with any sense of accomplishment like you should be. If you're looking for collectibles and it's just part of the game, you'll be left wondering where you took a wrong turn. And if you're looking to only advance the story forward, you'll be wondering why this new thing you've claimed doesn't help you in doing that. Most of the time, however, you'll need an item, but it won't be clear to you whether it's necessary or just outright useless and just a collectible needed in 100% in the game. My favorite example of this is at the beginning of the game. You wander around the gift shop for what feels like forever, with Freddy guiding you, and you finally find what you think will help you, and instead it's just a boring old hippo magnet. The magnet is actually what you're supposed to find in terms of the developers judging what you're supposed to find and not Freddy or the story telling you what you're supposed to find, but it's so strange that no one would ever guess that this is the item you actually need to collect. It drives the player crazy in wondering how the puzzle is supposed to be continued and takes away from time spent actually completing the game. This game is so confusing. There are no maps that help you out. There is a map, but doesn't help you out at all. The characters don't want to help you. It seems like Freddy, your companion, doesn't even care if you complete your task, and I couldn't help but find it extremely frustrating when I would think I had what I needed to progress, only just to find out it's nothing more than a pointless collectible. The biggest problem I and a lot of others had with this game is that the game isn't scary, like, at all. This game isn't really a horror game, even though that's what it was supposed to be. At most, it's a puzzle game that's so buggy it turns into a straight-up rage game. This serves as nothing but a huge disappointment, especially to me, because what is technically the last game in the series, as what's supposed to be for a long while, it's definitely the least terrifying in the series. This really saddened me because the last few games, VR, Ultimate Custom Night, and Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, are indeed some of the most scary and frightening games we've ever seen in the series. The game also lost that signature Five Nights at Freddy's charm that all the old games had. Five Nights at Freddy's was all about a game that forced you to have to make quick decisions in a cramped space. This game forces you to wander around and hope that you don't have to start the mission over because you either get jump scared or the game bugs out and soft locks you in a never-ending loop forever. Also, the save stations are really far apart, and that makes me angry. Five Nights at Freddy's used to be more about the experience that you were the security guard in the office. You were the little kid stuck in his room at night. But this game puts so much emphasis on the main character Gregory that you're taken out of the experience entirely. I didn't hear this complaint at all when the trailers first came out, but I really don't like the addition of rendered humans in this world. You can see the main character's hand on the flashlight. You can see the CalArts-style security guard roaming the halls. This really takes the player out of the horror experience, and unlike the previous games, it doesn't feel real at all. It's also less terrifying this way. The game also really changed the way that the jump scares were done. They had really cool jump scares in production. I have no clue as to why they changed it, but the one in the trailer was actually kind of spooky, and the one that was actually used is not. So I'll play both here, and you can make your own judgment on which one you like more. Personally, it's just not the same, and it was really disappointing to me when I first got jump scared for the first time in this game, because the jump scares in this game are goofy. The characters aren't scary at all. They literally just look like robots, much more than scary Uncanny Valley animatronics, but they just don't look that great. The characters aren't scary, they're just goofy. Another problem I had was the sound in the jump scare. It used to sound like human, like in the first original one that we got in the trailer, which is really cool. But now it just sounds like someone screaming and then having it run through like 3 or 4 filters to make it a little bit more uncanny. But it's not as good as the original Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare, because those jump scares sounded human and lifelike, and like there was actually something inside the animatronic that was possessing it. But these literally just sound like screams, I guess, but not regular screams like robot screams, and they definitely do not sound scary. This game is not scary at all, and the levels are so hard and boring. Like, this game is really hard, but it doesn't do a good job of getting you to want to play more, which is why my episodes are spaced out in terms of time. I literally just had no desire to play that game. I spent so much money on it, and then I felt like, you know what, I'm not going to force myself to play this game because I'm already out $40, so why on earth would I want to play this horrible game? And then I tried to resell it, but it wouldn't be resold. I wanted to finish the game, so I kind of forced myself to play this game and didn't enjoy it as much. Is this game a good video game? Sure, by all means. I think it's a fine video game. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's good. I think it's okay. To anyone who's really confident in their puzzle game skills, I would maybe recommend this game. But to Five Nights at Freddy's fans, everyone I think can at least get partly on board with this. It's a okay video game, but it is a terrible FNaF game. They took everything we liked about FNaF and they kind of got rid of it, except for the story. And the story isn't even that shocking and is still kind of confusing and nothing makes sense. And instead of it being more hopeful for the fans, that yes, we would get more of this story, we would finally get these questions answered, it just brought up some more points and furthered the story and didn't answer any questions we had and was just more confusing. So honestly, this game is not that great. It was kind of fun the first time playing it, you know, in terms of nostalgia, but in terms of a game, in terms of a horror game, in terms of a FNaF game, it is not a good game. However, if anyone is looking to kill a franchise, please take notes from Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, because this is definitely one effective way to do it. Kinda. And with that, I'll see you lovely folks on the flip side.